Underestimation is one of the most common mistakes people make in life. It often comes from arrogance, ignorance, or a false sense of superiority. When someone looks at another person and assumes weakness, incapability, or lack of power, they set themselves up for a dangerous surprise. Throughout history, we can see countless examples where individuals were judged by their appearance, background, or quiet demeanor, only to later reveal a strength that no one expected. The act of underestimating someone is not just an error in judgment, it is a complete failure to recognize the unseen qualities that make a person truly powerful. People tend to underestimate others based on surface-level observations. The way someone dresses, the tone of their voice, or the role they appear to play in society can all mislead those who are quick to judge. A person might look ordinary, might seem simple, or might even present themselves as humble, but beneath that exterior could lie sharp intelligence, unmatched resilience, and influence beyond imagination. Those who underestimate often fail to realize that true strength is not always loud, visible, or decorated. Sometimes, it is quiet, calculating, and waiting for the right moment to show itself. The psychology of underestimation is deeply rooted in human behavior. When people feel secure in their own power or status, they develop a dangerous sense of superiority. They start to see others as less than them, believing they are untouchable. This mindset blinds them from seeing potential threats. In the world of business, for example, countless powerful leaders have underestimated newcomers, only to later be overtaken by fresh ideas and fearless ambition. In personal life, bullies and arrogant individuals often look down on quiet personalities, never realizing that the same quietness can hide an inner fire ready to rise when provoked. The pain of being underestimated often becomes the greatest source of strength for the one who is looked down upon. When someone is dismissed or mocked, the feeling of humiliation can either break them or ignite them. For many, it becomes fuel. It drives them to prove themselves, not with words, but with actions so undeniable that those who doubted them are left speechless. The underestimated person does not need recognition in the beginning, they simply need the opportunity to turn the tables. And when that moment comes, the reversal of roles is powerful. The arrogant one who once laughed is forced to confront the reality that their judgment was wrong, and the quiet one who was ignored suddenly becomes unforgettable. Revenge stories thrive on this theme because the element of surprise is at the heart of underestimation. When people least expect power to strike back, that is when it hits the hardest. An airline staff insulting a passenger might not know he is the CEO. A group of colleagues mocking someone might not realize he is the one who will soon be their boss. A stranger dismissed in public might turn out to be the person with influence over everyone in the room. The moment of revelation is so impactful because it completely flips the balance of power. The underestimated individual doesn't just prove their worth, they expose the blindness of those who thought themselves superior. The cost of underestimating someone can be severe. Not only does it damage relationships and reputations, but it also creates enemies where there could have been allies. If someone had chosen respect over mockery, humility over arrogance, the story might have unfolded differently. But arrogance pushes people to act carelessly, and in that carelessness, they open the door for consequences. The underestimated person, often patient and observant, remembers every insult and every slight. They may remain silent, but silence does not mean weakness. It means preparation, strategy, and the patience to strike when the timing is perfect. Underestimation also reveals the flaws of those who do it. It shows their inability to see beyond appearances, their failure to judge character, and their blindness to hidden strength. On the other hand, the one who is underestimated learns valuable lessons. They learn patience, resilience, and the art of proving themselves through action rather than words. In many ways, being underestimated is a gift, because it allows a person to move unnoticed until the exact moment they choose to reveal who they truly are. It makes their eventual triumph far more impactful because it carries the weight of surprise. Power hidden behind silence is one of the most underestimated forces in human behavior. People often mistake quietness for weakness, assuming that someone who does not speak loudly, argue constantly, or show aggression has nothing to offer. Yet, silence can carry more weight than words ever could. A person who chooses silence is often more observant, more controlled, and more calculating. Instead of reacting immediately, they take in everything, they notice details, and they analyze situations while others rush to display their emotions. This ability to stay silent does not come from lack of strength but from an abundance of it, because it requires discipline to remain calm when provoked. In a world where noise is everywhere, silence becomes a weapon. People talk to assert dominance, to gain attention, or to prove their point. But when someone stays silent, it unsettles others. They wonder what that person is thinking, what they are planning, and why they are not reacting like everyone else. Silence creates mystery, and mystery creates power. The one who speaks less often knows more, because their focus is not on being heard but on truly listening. That knowledge becomes their advantage, and when the time comes, they use it in a way that takes everyone by surprise. Silence also builds patience. Those who know how to hold back their words and actions understand that not every battle needs to be fought in the open. Sometimes the strongest move is to wait. The silent individual can allow others to reveal themselves, expose their weaknesses, and make mistakes, all while remaining unnoticed. They do not waste energy on pointless arguments or small displays of ego. Instead, they preserve their strength for the moment when it matters most. And when they finally act, the impact is far greater because no one saw it coming. Many great leaders and thinkers in history were people of few words. Their silence did not mean lack of ideas or absence of authority, it meant their presence was strong enough that they did not need to constantly prove themselves. When they spoke, people listened, because their words carried the weight of wisdom earned through observation and restraint. Silence gave them credibility, and their power came not from noise but from precision. They understood that the right word at the right time could achieve more than endless speeches ever could. In personal conflicts, silence can be even more powerful. When someone is insulted, mocked, or provoked, the natural reaction is to fight back immediately. But those who master silence know that reacting right away often plays into the hands of the aggressor. By staying quiet, they deny satisfaction to the one trying to provoke them. They shift the balance of control, because the aggressor expects a reaction and grows frustrated when they don't get it. This frustration leads to mistakes, and those mistakes create opportunities for the silent one to gain the upper hand without even lifting a finger. Silence also carries a certain dignity. It shows self-control and strength of character. A person who does not need to shout or argue to prove their worth commands respect on a different level. Even in situations where they are wronged, their silence shows that they are not easily shaken. This restraint leaves an impression on others, who begin to realize that silence is not emptiness but rather a deeper form of power. It speaks louder than words because it shows confidence, discipline, and focus. At the same time, silence can be deceptive. Those who underestimate someone's quietness assume they have no strength, no voice, and no authority. But hidden behind that calm exterior could be a force more dangerous than anything visible. A silent person often knows far more than they reveal. They collect information, they study their opponents, and they plan their moves carefully. While others are distracted by their own noise, the silent one is preparing. And when they finally decide to act, they strike with precision, leaving everyone shocked by the depth of their power. In revenge stories, silence often becomes the greatest strength. The one who was mocked for not speaking back, the one who was ignored because they stayed quiet, is often the same person who returns with unimaginable authority. Their silence was not weakness but strategy, and their hidden power is revealed only when the moment of truth arrives. The mockers, who thought they had control, suddenly realized that the quiet one was in control all along. They spoke less, but they knew more. They acted less, but they planned more. They seemed weak, but they were stronger than anyone imagined. Respect is earned, not demanded, and this truth has been proven over and over in every sphere of life. Titles, wealth, or authority may grant a person temporary obedience, but genuine respect comes only through actions, character, and the way someone treats others. People can be forced to follow orders, but they cannot be forced to admire or value someone. Real respect is the result of consistency, humility, and fairness, and it cannot be bought or demanded by arrogance. When someone insists on being respected without putting in the effort to earn it, they reveal their insecurity more than their strength. The foundation of respect lies in behavior. People notice how someone carries themselves, how they speak to others, and how they respond in moments of pressure. A leader who belittles others or demands respect by shouting their title will never inspire loyalty. On the other hand, a leader who listens, acknowledges others' contributions, and treats even the lowest-ranked person with dignity naturally earns respect. This is because respect flows from actions that touch people's sense of fairness and humanity. The arrogant may gain fear, but the fair and humble gain respect. Respect is often tested in situations of power imbalance. When someone is in a position of authority, it becomes clear whether they truly understand what it means to earn respect. Those who misuse their authority to intimidate, humiliate, or control others create resentment rather than admiration. Their followers may comply outwardly, but deep inside they wait for a chance to see that authority fall. Conversely, when authority is exercised with wisdom and kindness, people not only obey but also feel a sense of loyalty. They go beyond what is required, not because they have to, but because they want to, and that willingness is the strongest form of respect. In daily life, respect reveals itself in small actions. Greeting someone with sincerity, listening without interrupting, or recognizing another person's worth may seem minor, but these moments accumulate and shape how people are perceived. The individual who demands respect through loud words is often forgotten, but the one who shows genuine respect to others is remembered. Respect, when mutual, creates bonds that last far beyond status or circumstances. The one who gives respect easily earns it in return. Many who demand respect misunderstand its nature. They believe respect is tied to appearance, wealth, or status symbols. They think if they wear expensive clothes, sit in the front row, or flash their success, people will automatically admire them. But admiration without authenticity is shallow and short-lived. The moment those external symbols fade, so does the respect. True respect, however, is attached to a person's character, and character cannot be taken away by changing circumstances. Someone who has earned respect through integrity will continue to receive it even if they lose their status or wealth, because people value the person, not the possessions. Respect also has a powerful connection to justice. When people feel they are treated fairly, they naturally respect the one treating them that way. On the contrary, injustice destroys respect faster than anything else. A single act of cruelty, dishonesty, or betrayal can erase years of effort. That is why respect requires consistency. It cannot be demanded in a moment of pride or panic. It must be built day by day, choice by choice, until it becomes undeniable. Even enemies can respect someone if they are fair and consistent, because respect is not about liking someone but about recognizing their strength of character. Revenge stories often highlight this principle vividly. The person who demanded respect arrogantly, who humiliated others and expected blind obedience, ends up facing humiliation themselves. Their downfall comes not because someone hated them, but because they failed to understand that true respect cannot be forced. On the other side, the person who was dismissed, mocked, or treated as less often emerges as the one who earns respect through patience and hidden strength. When the tables turn, people realize that the one they looked down on had more dignity than those who claimed superiority. This reversal is powerful because it reveals that respect is not about appearances but about truth. Respect also creates influence, and influence is stronger than authority. A person who is respected can inspire action without issuing a single order. People listen to them, follow their example, and even defend them in their absence. This influence is lasting because it is rooted in trust, and trust is the highest form of respect. Demanding respect without trust is like building a house without a foundation. It will collapse at the first sign of challenge. But when respect is earned, it creates a legacy that cannot be shaken, even by adversity. Revenge as a turning point is one of the most fascinating elements of human experience. It represents the moment when pain, humiliation, and injustice transform into a force of power, creating a shift that no one expected. Revenge is rarely about the initial insult alone, it is about what that insult awakens inside a person. The one who was disrespected, ignored, or underestimated finds a fire within them, and that fire becomes the fuel for change. This turning point is dramatic because it reverses the roles of victim and aggressor, leaving those who once held power vulnerable to the consequences of their own actions. When someone experiences injustice, the immediate reaction is often anger, but anger alone does not create transformation. It is when anger is combined with patience and strategy that it becomes a turning point. Many people react impulsively, but the true power of revenge lies in its timing. The individual who bides their time, who waits for the perfect moment, who plans carefully rather than rushing in with emotion, holds the greatest strength. Their silence, their endurance, and their refusal to forget allow them to turn a moment of humiliation into an opportunity for revelation. The beauty of revenge as a turning point is that it exposes the arrogance of those who believed they were untouchable. A bully mocks someone in public, convinced that their victim is powerless. A group excludes someone, thinking they are insignificant. A company mistreats a customer, assuming their actions will go unnoticed. But when the truth is revealed, when the victim turns out to be someone of influence, intelligence, or authority, the balance of power shifts instantly. The aggressors realize that their actions have not only backfired but also destroyed their own credibility. This reversal is what makes revenge so impactful, because it teaches a lesson that simple words never could. In many stories, revenge becomes the exact moment when respect is earned. Before the turning point, the victim is seen as weak or unimportant. After the turning point, they command attention, and not just from those who wronged them but from everyone who witnesses their rise. People begin to see them in a new light, not because they demanded recognition but because they proved themselves through resilience and strategy. The act of revenge forces others to reconsider their judgments, and this reevaluation creates a shift that is both personal and public. The psychological weight of revenge lies in its ability to give closure to the one who was wronged. It is not simply about getting even, it is about reclaiming dignity. Being humiliated or underestimated leaves a wound that lingers, but turning that pain into power provides healing. The victim does not erase the past, but they rewrite the narrative, showing that the ending belongs to them, not to the aggressor. This moment of rewriting is what makes revenge so powerful, because it transforms weakness into strength and shame into triumph. Revenge also acts as a turning point because it often teaches a lesson to those who observe it. People watching from the sidelines may not intervene when injustice happens, but when they see the reversal, they are reminded of the dangers of arrogance. They realize that anyone could be hiding untapped strength, and that respect should never be withheld based on appearances. The story of revenge spreads beyond the people directly involved, serving as a warning that mistreatment can come back in unexpected ways. The aggressor's downfall becomes a lesson for all, ensuring that the turning point impacts more than just two individuals. The elegance of revenge lies in its unpredictability. The aggressor never expects the one they wrong to rise so powerfully. They never imagine that the quiet person they insulted has the resources to expose them, or that the underestimated figure has the influence to turn everything upside down. That element of surprise makes the turning point unforgettable. It is not just about payback, it is about revelation, the sudden unveiling of power that was hidden in plain sight. This shock magnifies the effect of revenge, leaving an impression that lasts long after the moment has passed. In the world of storytelling, revenge is often the climax because it changes everything. It is the scene where all the tension, all the pain, and all the waiting converge into one explosive moment. But beyond stories, in real life, revenge as a turning point often marks the beginning of transformation. The victim does not just reclaim dignity, they step into a new identity. They prove not only to others but also to themselves that they are stronger than the humiliation they endured. That discovery becomes their true victory, because once someone realizes their strength, they can never return to the person they were before. Actions speak louder than status because titles, wealth, and outward appearances can create an illusion of authority, but it is what a person does that reveals their true worth. Many people try to command respect by showcasing their position or their background, believing that status alone makes them untouchable. Yet, time and again, it is proven that the world does not remember people for the labels they carried but for the choices they made and the impact those choices created. A person may be seated in the highest place, but if their actions are small, selfish, or cruel, their status means nothing. Conversely, someone with no title, no wealth, and no public recognition can rise above all others if their actions reflect strength, courage, and integrity. The danger of relying solely on status is that it is fragile. Status can be granted, and it can be taken away. One day a person may hold power, but the next day circumstances can shift, leaving them with nothing. When respect is tied only to status, it disappears as quickly as the title or wealth disappears. But when respect is tied to action, it endures, because actions cannot be erased from memory. People may forget the details of someone's position, but they will always remember how that person treated others, how they handled challenges, and how they stood in moments of truth. Actions are the real language of character. A wealthy person who looks down on others may appear powerful, but their arrogance exposes weakness. A leader who demands obedience but shows no compassion may sit on a throne, but they cannot command hearts. On the other hand, a person who helps others without expecting recognition, who stands for what is right even when it is difficult, or who defends the dignity of those around them creates an impact that no amount of wealth or status can replicate. Their actions become their identity, and their identity becomes stronger than any superficial title. In many revenge stories, the difference between status and action becomes the turning point. Those in positions of power often rely on their titles to humiliate or control others, believing their role makes them untouchable. They mock, dismiss, or underestimate people who appear to have no status. But when the victim responds through action, revealing intelligence, strength, or hidden authority, the entire narrative changes. The aggressors realize too late that their status could not shield them from the consequences of their arrogance. It is in that moment that the truth becomes undeniable: actions hold more weight than empty titles. This principle also shows up in everyday life. People often introduce themselves by their profession, wealth, or achievements, thinking these define who they are. But what people truly pay attention to is behavior. Does this person honor their word? Do they treat others with kindness? Do they carry themselves with humility even when they are in power? These questions matter far more than any title. A teacher may hold no wealth compared to a corporate leader, but their actions in shaping lives can make them more respected. A worker with no official authority may gain admiration from colleagues simply by working hard, being reliable, and supporting others. Respect follows action, not labels. Status can even become a trap. When people lean too heavily on their title or wealth, they stop focusing on their actions. They think their status is enough to guarantee respect, but in reality, their behavior erodes whatever respect they might have had. This is why so many powerful figures fall from grace. Their titles remain, but their actions betray them. The public no longer cares about who they are supposed to be, only about what they have done. Once the truth of their actions is revealed, their status is meaningless. Actions also reveal authenticity. It is easy to speak about values, kindness, or leadership, but it is action that proves whether those words are true. Many people can project an image of success, but only consistent action can maintain it. In moments of crisis, status offers no protection, but action determines survival. Those who step forward, take responsibility, and make courageous choices prove themselves more than those who hide behind titles. Actions are a test of character, and they often reveal who truly deserves respect. The most powerful element of action is that it cannot be faked for long. Someone may pretend to be generous, humble, or strong, but their consistent behavior will eventually reveal the truth. Status can be borrowed, bought, or inherited, but action belongs only to the individual. It reflects their true intentions and values, and it builds their reputation day by day. Over time, people come to trust not the words or the titles, but the patterns of behavior they have witnessed. That trust becomes the foundation of true influence, and it cannot be demanded, it must be earned through action. They never saw it coming because arrogance blinds people to reality. When someone believes they are superior, they stop paying attention to the details that matter. They dismiss others without consideration, convinced that their power or position makes them untouchable. This false sense of security creates the perfect stage for a reversal. The aggressor expects weakness, but instead they are met with strength. They prepare for obedience, but instead they are confronted with resistance. They look down on someone, certain that there will be no consequences, only to discover too late that the person they underestimated was far more powerful than they could ever imagine. The element of surprise makes moments of revenge so unforgettable. It is not simply that someone responds, it is that the response is so unexpected, so beyond what anyone imagined, that it changes everything. The quiet person mocked for saying nothing suddenly speaks with authority. The individual pushed aside for looking ordinary reveals influence that shocks everyone. The victim who appeared powerless demonstrates strength that cannot be ignored. The shock magnifies the impact, because it forces those who laughed or mocked to face their mistakes in public, with no way to hide from the truth. When people underestimate others, they do not prepare for resistance. They plan their actions as if the other person will remain passive forever. This creates overconfidence, and overconfidence always leads to mistakes. The aggressors grow careless, revealing their arrogance more openly, mocking more loudly, and showing off their superiority without restraint. But the one who is underestimated remains patient, watching carefully, waiting for the exact moment when the tables can be turned. And when that moment arrives, it is devastating, because the aggressors are caught completely unprepared. The greatest strength of surprise is that it rewrites perception instantly. Before the turning point, the underestimated person is seen as invisible, weak, or unimportant. After the revelation, they are seen as commanding, powerful, and unforgettable. The aggressor's judgment collapses in front of everyone, and the underestimated person becomes the center of attention. This shift not only destroys the arrogance of those who mocked but also elevates the dignity of the one who was wronged. The surprise gives weight to the revenge, ensuring that the lesson will not be forgotten. Stories that capture this theme often leave the strongest impression on audiences. The idea that someone could be mistreated one moment and then rise the next creates both satisfaction and inspiration. Satisfaction comes from seeing arrogance punished. Inspiration comes from realizing that hidden strength exists in everyone, and that no one should be dismissed too quickly. The shock of revelation makes the story memorable because it delivers justice in the most dramatic way possible. The aggressors lose face, not in private but in front of everyone, and the silence that follows their humiliation speaks louder than any words could. The phrase, "they never saw it coming," carries with it the idea of justice hidden in plain sight. The aggressors were so blinded by their own pride that they overlooked the warning signs. They ignored the calmness of the one they mocked. They dismissed the quiet confidence in their eyes. They failed to notice the patience in their behavior. Every sign was there, but arrogance prevented them from seeing it. And that blindness is what makes the reversal so satisfying, because it shows that arrogance does not just hurt others, it destroys the one who carries it. The surprise of revenge also carries symbolic power. It shows that no matter how strong someone believes they are, no matter how untouchable they think their position makes them, there is always the possibility that the very person they dismiss could become their downfall. This truth humbles audiences because it reminds them that appearances are deceptive. The janitor could be the owner. The passenger could be the CEO. The quiet one in the corner could be the one holding the final word. This uncertainty creates both respect and caution, because no one wants to become the next example of arrogance undone by hidden strength. The shock of an unexpected revelation also extends beyond the aggressors. Witnesses who observe the moment are equally impacted. They realize that their own assumptions may also have been wrong, that they too may have judged too quickly. The story of revenge spreads not just because the aggressors were punished but because everyone learns a lesson about humility. The element of surprise ensures that the lesson is unforgettable, carving it into memory in a way that no lecture or warning could achieve. The suddenness of the reversal becomes the proof that underestimation is the most dangerous mistake of all.